You, my friend, are a New York Knicks fan, and I gotta say, you've handled today's show like a professional. I expected nothing less.
Thank
You've
you.
done a terrific job. You took one on the chin last night. It was tough. It was tough. Does it help, Jared, at all, though, knowing that it was game one, right? Because
Yeah.
we have talked a lot about that today. A lot of people just feel like this series is over, and maybe Indiana does just go on to win this series. They certainly could. But the Knicks, I mean, it's only one game. They could easily come back, win this series. They're plus 140 right now on BetMGM to still win the Eastern Conference Finals. So your takeaways from last night's game, Jared, and just kind of remembering that at the end of the day, this is just one game. And as brutal as it was and as much as they should have won that game, it's still just 1-0, and there's a lot of series left to be played.
Thank you for the compliment. It is easier to do these shows the day after. Although I do encourage all of you to listen to Nick's emergency press conference / YBYB late night after dark hours, where I want to say whatever the number was on total F-bombs dropped, I would say that the over should have been a bet.
Oh, yeah.
in that
Oh, yeah.
segment.
So
if you
good.
want if you were tuning in today, and I know this is the number one sports betting podcast, I know there's a lot of loyal listeners that were probably waiting to tune in today to get Nick's reaction to the absurdity that we saw last night. Don't worry, we've got you covered. Go online. I'm sure it's posted on all the podcasts, all the places where you normally find our show. That being said, yes, I am a little bit more of, I would say, level-headed about the Knicks. Also, I lost money on the game. So it was like a double, what, up to you-know-what, because it's just you not only lose the game, but then you can't even get, for example, I mentioned this in earlier hours, the Halliburton alt threes was 5 last night at 7-1. And I'm thinking to myself when I'm watching that last shot go in, I'm like, well, I'm miserable that the Knicks lost, but at least I hit the Halliburton 7-1 all threes. Yeah, I even got that ripped out from under me, and he didn't hit a 3 in overtime either, so he landed 4, and I lost that bet. But I think there's only – and gambling has ruined this for me. Gambling has made it to where I care most nights about my bankroll than I do about my favorite teams. And this is when, like during a regular season Yankees game, not as important. Like, all right, I bet the pitcher prop for the other pitcher and he pitched really well and the Yankees lost. There's 161 more games to deal with. But when it's the playoffs, the Eastern Conference Finals, and they haven't been there in 25 years, yeah, it's magnified a little bit. So it was a rough night. I woke up this morning. I went for a nice run. I prepped for the show. I lost some baseball bets. All is right in the world. It all circles back.
Jared, that's why it's tough in these big games, man. Unless you really feel good about your team, I don't bet my teams, man. Because for me, it's just good enough to watch them win, Because I don't even want to, especially if they're a favorite like your Knicks were last night. I don't even want to be thinking about the cover. Just win the game. Don't even care if you win by 1, 2, whatever. Just win the game. So, I mean, man, good for you. You're a better man than I. As a fan, wanting the Knicks to win. And then as a bettor, rooting for the Knicks to win as well. And then rough beat there on Halliburton, not getting those 3-pointers home. That is tough. Just, again, crazy game. And a lot of people, again, are going to talk about how the Knicks are cooked. This series, it feels like it's over, even after just one game. But the Knicks did so much good last night, Jared. They really did. And this conversation today and the perception around this series and the way that we would be talking about this series moving forward would be so different if the Knicks just won that game by 15, like it looked like they were going to do, and then the Pacers just do something truly historic, something that we have quite literally never seen before in the NBA, because teams are 974-0 when leading by 15 with less than 3 minutes, and then last night it becomes 974-1. So something historic happens, and now it's just like the world's going to end. I think a lot of it too, Jared, and you can speak to this as a Knicks fan, is because it's the Knicks, right? It's a New York team with the media in that city and how much those fans love that team, and the fact that, they've spent 25 years really not experiencing success like at all. They haven't won a title since 1973. And there was so much excitement. There was so much hope. This team beat Boston in 6 games. Not only did they beat them, absolutely dismantled them. Then you have cities in New York, right? They're putting up new street signs with the players' jerseys numbers under. Jared, can we wait to do that like after the finals? Maybe like, well, let's wait for the team to win a championship before we do that. But all that's going on. So there's just so much. And the fact that it's the Knicks, it's just on top of all this, the fact that it's Madison Square Garden and you got Reggie Miller sitting courtside, like everything was amplified last night. But it really, I mean, there aren't many times like I've been this excited for like a game 2 in any series, but I truly cannot wait to see how the Knicks come out. I think, Jared, in game 2, I think it's going to be more of the same, where I think the Knicks are going to look really good. I think they're going to play a good first quarter, good second quarter. I think they're going to be up double digits midway through the third. And then I think Indiana's going to make a comeback. Now, I think the Knicks are going to win the game. But to me, this is, I think, the biggest concern with the Knicks moving forward. Everybody's wondering how they can overcome that loss last night. Jared, we saw it with Boston when they played the Knicks, when they had 2 games in the first 2 games of that series when they were up 20 and lost both. It's tough when you have a big lead and you collapse like that. If you're faced with the same scenario again against that same team, all that doubt creeps in, right? Especially when things don't start going your way, and especially when you're at home and you have all that pressure to deliver in front of your home fans. I almost want to see that. I almost want to see the Knicks up again by like 15, 20 points late in the third, fourth quarter, and I want to see Indiana put some pressure on them. I want to see how the Knicks respond, because to me, if they respond and win that game by 20, then you know what? I truly do think you can just flush game 1 out of the way. Maybe not fully, but I think the Knicks will be like, you know what? It was just an all-time collapse. We moved on. Now it's 1-1, best of 5. Here we go. But that's kind of what I want to see. Them have a lead, Knicks and the Pacers maybe make a little bit of a run, and how the Knicks respond to that.
I think to your first point about the naming of the streets and getting ahead of themselves, I think that was my biggest gripe with what we saw after the Boston series.
Yeah.
And again, I was born in Manhattan. I have been a New York sports fan since birth. I was born in Mount Sinai Hospital. No one knows New York sports better than me. I hated the way that we celebrated after the Celtics series. Hated it. And I didn't want to, make too big of a stink about it because I didn't want to be, called out. Oh, you're not a New York fan. How come you don't want to celebrate? It was the Eastern Conference semifinals. It wasn't even the Eastern Conference finals.
I know.
And they were celebrating like they won it all. Act like you've been there before. The problem is most Knicks fans that are alive haven't been there before. And they get that taste and they go absolutely bonkers. That was, if you want to put a proportional response, that was, they celebrated that Celtics series like they won the title. And I didn't see any videos or any, highlights from last night at the Garden afterwards when they were leaving in 7th Avenue and that whole, it looked like, it was a circus after the Celtics series. But you have to keep things in perspective. And I think that's where the New York fan base, deservedly so, gets a lot of gripes. And most fan bases, fan short for fanatic, most fan bases are going to give you the extreme level of excitement. But I thought that the way that they celebrated the Celtics series win kind of proved to me that the Knicks fan base was not ready for the level of success that maybe they will get in this series. Now you have to think about it in 2 different ways. If I'm a Knicks fan, do you want them to if you were a Knicks fan, PJ, I'll ask you this question because I know my answer. Would you rather win this series and then, just like they did 25 years ago, lose in 5 to the Spurs and David Robinson and launch another Western Conference dynasty in the Thunder like they did 25 years ago when, Duncan and Robinson, and that was the ascent of the Spurs? Would you rather beat the Pacers, make it to the finals, and then lose to the Thunder? Or would you rather, have it, get put out of your misery early and lose this series and then not? Because I think we're all in agreement that the Thunder are going to win they're like a $2 favorite right now to win the finals. Like, I think we're all in agreement that the Thunder are the best team. They should win it all. Even if the Knicks win this series, they will likely lose to the Thunder. Which round would you rather meet your demise? I would rather be put out of my misery right now. Honestly.
Really?
If I'm not winning the title, I would rather lose right now. Don't delay the inevitable.
I disagree. I would much rather, if I was a Knicks fan, have them beat Indiana, lose to OKC in the finals. Because for me, Jared, as a fan, it hurts, I think. I know. It hurts when your team loses a series that you feel like you should win and you're better than that team, right?
That's fair.
Like Celtics fans, I think
don't know if we're better than the Pacers, though. I'll be honest. I don't know if we're better than them. We have home court. I don't think we're better. I think the Pacers are pretty good.
They are for sure, and maybe they are better, but at least there's a conversation to be had about who the better team is. Where I think with like OKC, you just tip your cap, right? Yeah. You know they're better. It's like
But if I can tell you with 100% certainty, it doesn't matter you're going to lose in the finals. You'd still rather go?
I would.
All right.
And as somebody, who's obviously a New York sports fan, Jared, that like it's not often you get to see, certain teams in the finals often. So given that opportunity, you don't know how many more times you're going to see the Knicks in the finals. Hopefully for your sake, it's a lot, but you don't know how many more times.
I think it's just because I've been conditioned to feel pain with this Knicks team.
See, that's the way I am. That's the way I am. Jared, I'm just like, you know what? If my team loses to a better team, you tip the cap. It is what it is. That team's better. Yeah. When I watched Bama, as a Bama fan, as a Bama grad, when I watched them play Duke in the Elite Eight in the tournament, they're better. Like you can't get mad. Duke is better than they are, right? When Penn State plays Ohio State every year in football, Jared is a Penn State grad.
Better players.
You can't get mad, right?
They're better players.
They're just better. You can't get mad if you lose to the better team. So I think this Indiana series, even though I can see your side of wanting to get put out of your misery, if this was the NCAA tournament and it was one game, right? I think you have to. Whoa. Your takeaway last night was the Knicks are better. They gave away that game, right? They were better.
That's a great way to compare it.
They're the better team.
It's the same sport, but it's such a different feeling after one game.
Yes.
That's a great way to put it in perspective.
It's like Houston Duke, right?
If it was the NCAA tournament and Penn State, or Penn State's never making the Final Four in that March Madness, but let's go in the Knicks reference. The Knicks were the better team last night and they lost the game. They can still come back from it. You can't do that in March Madness. That's a really good way to frame it.
We had a poll question that we're going to get to. I'd love to get to in the next segment, actually, because I think it's a great talking point. But, Jared, it really is. Like, last night can be looked at as Duke and Houston in the Final Four, right? You have two solid teams. Houston was a great team in college basketball. Yeah. I don't know how anybody could watch that Final Four game and think Houston's a better team than Duke. They're just not. Duke was the best team in college basketball. They were the better team, and they gave that game away. But, again, it was one and done, so Duke goes home. If those teams play a 7-game series, Duke beats Houston in a 7-game series. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with Indiana and New York in a 7-game series, which I think makes it great. But again, Jared, if you look at it that one game, I think last night, I think you got to say the Knicks are the better team. We'll see how the pace plays from here on out and how it goes the rest of the series. But, yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I think the Knicks out of one game are better. We'll see how they respond in game 2.